For this problem, we're given the product of two whole numbers is 70. The larger number is 1 less than 3 times the smaller number. I want to know what is the smaller of the two numbers. I am going to define my variables and let x be equal to the smaller number. I'm going to let y be equal to the larger number. I now know that if I take the product of these two numbers, or x times y, I am going to get 70. I also know that my larger number y is 1 less than 3 times my smaller number. So I would find y by taking 3 times x and subtracting 1. Now I have two equations and I want to find either x or y. Since I know that y is equal to 3x minus 1, I'm going to use substitution and substitute y into my first equation. So I have x times y, which is 3x minus 1, is equal to 70. I will now notice that if I use my distributive property, I will get a quadratic equation given by 3x squared minus x is equal to 70. In order to solve for this, I would set it equal to 0 and try to factor it. So if I subtract 70 from both sides, I get 3x squared minus x minus 70 is equal to 0. In order to factor this, I am going to look for two numbers that multiply to 3 times a negative 70, which is a negative 210, and at the same time these two numbers must add to negative 1. This means that my two numbers are going to be negative 15 and a positive 14, because negative 15 times 14 is indeed a negative 210, and negative 15 plus 14 is equal to negative 1. I'm going to use this to factor 3x squared minus x minus 70 using factor by grouping. We have found that this is factorable by factor by grouping, and we're going to split negative x into a negative 15x and a positive 14x. Now I can factor by grouping. If I look at my first two terms, I would see that they have a greatest common factor of 3x. When I factor out 3x, I'm left with x minus 5. When I look at 14x minus 70, I will see that they have a common factor of 14. Therefore, I'm going to factor out 14, and I'm going to be left with x minus 5. Since both terms have a common factor of x minus 5, I will factor it out, giving me x minus 5 times 3x plus 14 is equal to 0. This tells me either x minus 5 is equal to 0 or 3x plus 14 is equal to 0. In the first equation, I would have x equal to 5, and in my second equation, I would have x is equal to a negative 14 thirds. Since in my problem I'm looking for whole numbers, I know that x equaling negative 14 thirds is not a whole number. Therefore, my smaller number is going to be given by x equal to 5. To find my larger number, we might recall that my larger number is given by 3 times my smaller number minus 1. So y is equal to 3 times 5 minus 1, which is 15 minus 1, which is 14. Let's check to see what our answer is going to be. I have x is equal to 5 and y is equal to 14. If I multiply 5 times 14, I indeed get 70. Therefore, I know that my smaller number is 5 and my larger number is 14.